Imagine yourself in a room full of people, all watching your every move, waiting for you to react to a criticism. What would you do? Have you ever thought that instead of letting yourself be carried away by emotion, you could simply remain silent? This is the power of Stoicism, a philosophy that teaches us to control our reactions and emotions, even when we are devalued. Silence can be your most powerful weapon. By not reacting impulsively, you not only disarm those who try to provoke you, but you also demonstrate an inner strength that many underestimate. Now reflect. How many times have you felt ignored or underestimated? The truth is that your worth does not depend on the validation of others. By cultivating your self-sufficiency, you become unshakable and attract the respect you deserve. Setting clear boundaries, focusing on what matters, and practicing gratitude are actions that can transform your life and relationships. And the most amazing part, these changes are not just about others, but about you. Are you ready to discover how the 9 attitudes I'm going to share can leave these people desperate? Then stay with me, and let's embark on this journey of self-discovery and personal power together. But first, I ask you to subscribe to our channel and help us grow. Comment below with your city so I can see how far my message is reaching. The power of strategic silence. You know that moment when someone provokes you, and the urge to respond in kind is almost irresistible? I've been there. I remember a situation where a coworker, in a sarcastic tone, said something that could easily have gotten on my nerves. But instead of reacting, I chose to remain silent. It was a strategic decision, and I can say that silence can be one of the most powerful tools we have at our disposal. It not only disarms the expectation of an explosive reaction, but also conveys a clear message. You have control over your emotions. Silence in this context is almost like armor. It shows that you are not someone who is easily swayed by provocations. Often people seek an emotional response, and when faced with silence, they become confused. Silence, then, is not just the absence of words. It is a form of communication that speaks louder than any verbal response could. It's a way of saying, I am not affected by you, eh? Furthermore, by not reacting, you divert the attention away from the provocateur. This makes them realize that their attempts to destabilize you are not working. The situation transforms and the dynamic shifts. You become the person who is in control, while the other party may end up feeling frustrated that they can't elicit the desired reaction. This role reversal is liberating and brings a sense of empowerment. On the other hand, strategic silence also offers an opportunity to reflect before acting. Instead of responding impulsively, you allow yourself a moment of introspection. This can help you assess the situation more objectively and decide the best way to respond, if you choose to do so. The self-control that comes from silence can be a true game-changer in social interactions. Finally, this practice of not verbally reacting to provocations not only transforms your interactions, but also shapes the perception others have of you. People start to see you as someone mature, who knows how to handle conflicts elegantly and, above all, intelligently. The power of strategic silence is a skill worth cultivating. Emotional balance. Emotional balance is one of those expressions that seems simple, but in practice it proves to be challenging. I remember a time when I let myself be carried away by emotions, reacting impulsively to every little provocation. It was as if a flame was ignited within me, and the only thing I knew how to do was let myself be consumed by it. Learning to stay calm in adverse situations was a true lesson. This skill not only improved my relationships but also brought a new clarity to my life. When we manage to stay calm, the way we interact with one another changes completely. Instead of being seen as someone who reacts excessively, you become someone who possesses clarity and serenity. This does not go unnoticed. People tend to trust those who demonstrate emotional balance, knowing they can rely on someone who is not swayed by impulses. This generates a perception of maturity that often opens doors in various areas of life. Moreover, emotional balance allows us to make more conscious choices. When we are calm, we can analyze situations more clearly and consequently make better decisions. This ability to reflect before acting not only improves our personal lives, but can also be a differentiator in professional environments. Having a tranquil mind is like having a compass that guides us through chaos. And don't be mistaken, this does not mean you cannot feel emotions. The difference lies in how you handle them. Recognizing your emotions and accepting them is the first step to gaining greater control over them. When you understand what you are feeling, it becomes easier to decide how to react or if you should react at all. This practice of self-analysis and acceptance is fundamental for the development of emotional balance. Finally, emotional balance is reflected in the relationships we build. When we maintain calmness and clarity, people feel more comfortable around us. This creates an environment of respect and understanding, where interactions tend to be healthier and more productive. Over time, you will notice that this skill becomes second nature, transforming not only your relationships but also the way you see yourself in the world. Valuing self-sufficiency. Self-sufficiency is a quality that, in my experience, can radically change the way we relate to others. I used to depend on external validation to feel good about myself. When someone criticized or devalued me, it deeply affected my self-esteem. But over time, I realized that true strength comes from within. Learning to be emotionally self-sufficient is one of the most important steps we can take toward self-respect. When you become emotionally self-sufficient, the opinions of others lose the weight they used to carry. This doesn't mean you become insensitive or indifferent to what others think. In fact, it means you build a solid foundation of self-esteem that doesn't rely on anyone's approval. This shift in mindset not only fosters a deeper respect for yourself, but it also causes those around you to recognize and respect this self-confidence. An interesting aspect of self-sufficiency is that it transforms the dynamics of personal relationships. When you don't need validation from others, interactions become more authentic. It's no longer about pleasing or fitting into expectations, but about sharing genuine experiences and feelings. This creates a space where true connection can flourish, free from emotional games and manipulation. Additionally, self-sufficiency fosters a sense of freedom. You become capable of making decisions based on what you truly want, rather than what others expect from you. This freedom is empowering and brings new meaning to your life. You start to realize that your choices are your own, and this provides a satisfaction that cannot be found in external approval. Finally, valuing self-sufficiency not only transforms how you see yourself, but also how others see you. People tend to admire those who demonstrate emotional independence. This admiration can, in turn, strengthen your relationships, creating a positive cycle of respect and consideration. Self-sufficiency is undoubtedly a fundamental pillar for building healthy and meaningful interactions. Prioritize the essential. In a world filled with distractions and noise, learning to prioritize the essential is a skill that can be a true game changer. I myself have lost track in endless to-do lists and obligations, forgetting what really mattered. When I decided to focus on what is essential, my life began to take on a new meaning. This practice brings clarity of purpose and helps to ignore things that truly don't matter. Prioritizing the essential means making a conscious choice about where to direct your energy and attention. Often, we let ourselves be carried away by what is urgent but not necessarily important. Over time, I realized that what truly counts are the relationships we cultivate, the moments we experience, and the experiences that transform us. This shift in focus not only improves our quality of life, but also brings a sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. When we start to prioritize the essential, the perception others have of us also changes. People begin to notice that you are not easily shaken by criticism or attempts to belittle you. This destabilizes those who try to undermine you, as they see that you are focused on what truly matters, making their attempts futile. This self-focus, in fact, creates a protective shield that prevents external influences from affecting your self-esteem. Moreover, the practice of prioritizing the essential also brings a sense of purpose. When we know what is truly important, our actions align with our values and goals. This clarity allows us to make wiser and more meaningful decisions, and it reflects in all areas of life. The people around us notice this change and often feel inspired to do the same. Ultimately, prioritizing the essential is a powerful way to live with intention. By focusing on what truly matters, you become more present in your own life. This not only enhances your relationships and interactions, but also contributes to a state of inner peace. This peace is one of the greatest rewards we can achieve, and by prioritizing the essential, you take the first step toward a fuller and more meaningful life. Establishing boundaries. Creating boundaries is one of the most important things I've learned throughout my life. I always thought that being kind and available to others was the key to good relationships. However, I realized that this approach often left me exhausted, and the people around me didn't respect my time and space. Establishing boundaries was like putting a "do not cross" sign in areas that are essential for my well-being, and believe me, it made all the difference. When I decided that I needed to protect myself, I started to clearly communicate what was acceptable and what wasn't. It's not about being rude or indifferent, but about asserting that I also have needs and limits. For example, when someone tries to pull me into discussions that don't interest me or that drain me emotionally, I make it clear that I'm not available for that. This practice not only preserves my energy, but also teaches others to respect my space. I realize that by setting these boundaries, relationships become healthier. The people who truly care about me understand and respect these boundaries. On the other hand, those who don't care tend to drift away, which is a relief. Sometimes it's even surprising to notice how some relationships adjust naturally when you start to value yourself more. It's as if an invisible filter separates what really matters from what is just noise. Moreover, clear boundaries help me focus on my priorities. Instead of spreading myself thin in various directions, I can dedicate my time and energy to what truly interests me and brings me satisfaction. This not only improves my quality of life, but also makes me more productive in everything I do. The positive impact of this on my relationships is tangible, as the people around me notice that I'm more present and engaged. Finally, establishing boundaries is an act of self-love. It's a constant reminder that my well-being is important and that I don't need to sacrifice myself to please others. This practice is not selfish, it's essential. When I protect myself, I can offer the best of me in relationships, and in the end, that benefits everyone. Using time as an ally. The wisdom of time is something I took a while to understand. In moments of stress or pressure, my tendency was to want to act quickly, seeking immediate solutions. However, over time, I realized that often the best thing to do is simply to wait. Allowing time to work in my favor taught me to cultivate patience and control, and it has become a powerful tool in my interactions. For example, when someone provokes me or tries to get under my skin, instead of reacting impulsively, I learn to take a step back and breathe. This simple act of pausing allows me to analyze the situation more clearly and rationally. On many occasions, I noticed that what seemed urgent or important at the moment could actually be resolved with a little calm and reflection. Time, in this sense, becomes an ally, allowing emotions to settle so that I can respond more thoughtfully. Moreover, this practice made me understand that some situations require more time to unfold. There are problems that cannot be solved quickly, and trying to force a resolution only generates more stress. By embracing the idea that time can bring clarity, I learned to trust the process, which made me calmer and less anxious. This approach is also reflected in the way others behave towards me. They notice this calmness and tend to adjust. Patience is also a virtue that reflects in my relationships. When I let time act, I realize that often people reveal themselves in unexpected ways. Conflicts that seemed insurmountable can dissipate naturally, and misunderstandings can be clarified with a simple dialogue, which becomes easier when I am not under pressure. This ability to wait and observe has given me a greater sense of control over my interactions. Finally, learning to use time as an ally has helped me appreciate the present. Instead of worrying excessively about the future or dwelling on the past, I can focus on what really matters now. This not only improves my emotional state, but also strengthens my relationships, as I am more available and open to the experiences that life offers me at every moment. Gratitude practice. Gratitude is a practice that has transformed my life in ways I never imagined. In a world full of challenges and difficulties, we often forget to look at the good things we have. I started to consciously cultivate gratitude, and from that moment on, everything changed. This practice not only improves my perspective, but also positively impacts my interactions. One of the first steps I took was to write down 3 things I am grateful for each day. Sometimes they were simple things, like a warm coffee in the morning or a smile from a friend. Over time, I realized that by focusing on the small joys, my mind began to train itself to see the positive in challenging situations. This doesn't mean ignoring problems, but rather finding a balance that allows me to face adversities with a lighter heart. When I cultivate gratitude, it reflects in my interactions. I have become more patient and understanding, even in difficult situations. Instead of reacting negatively when someone displeases me, I can remember the good things that person brings into my life. This shift in perspective not only enhances my inner peace, but also strengthens my bonds with those around me. Interactions become warmer and more authentic, and that is a gift we can all give each other. Moreover, the practice of gratitude has helped me deal with negativity. When someone tries to unsettle or provoke me, instead of engaging in the negativity, I remind myself of the good things I have. This gives me a solid foundation to not let myself be affected by words or actions that ultimately hold no value. Gratitude becomes a shield, protecting me from emotional attacks and maintaining my peace. Finally, by sharing my gratitude with others, I realize that I can inspire a positive cycle. When I thank and appreciate the people around me, they respond in kind. This exchange of good energy creates a more harmonious environment where everyone feels valued and respected. And in the end, that is what truly matters in our relationships: the ability to connect in a meaningful and positive way. The strength of Stoic resilience. Stoic resilience is a quality that I have learned to cultivate over time. When I face challenges, I try not just to react, but to understand that each obstacle is a disguised opportunity. I remember a situation where a project I was leading did not go as expected. The initial frustration was significant, but instead of letting it get me down, I sought to learn from the experience. The Stoic in me told me to see the problem in a new light. How could I use this situation to grow and become a better professional? This shift in perspective made all the difference. Serenity, in turn, is a powerful ally. When things get tough, and it's natural for them to, my first impulse is to take a deep breath and center myself. Calmness not only helps me to make better decisions, but also to convey confidence to those around me. I believe that when we show we can maintain composure under pressure, we inspire others to do the same. After all, being an example of resilience can positively impact the dynamics of any group. Another lesson I've learned is that resilience also involves acceptance. Accepting that life is full of ups and downs has freed me from a huge burden. We don't need to have total control over everything. Sometimes the best we can do is accept what we cannot change. This doesn't mean giving up, but rather recognizing that life is a series of uncontrollable events and that how we react to them is what truly matters. This understanding brings an inner peace that is hard to describe. Furthermore, developing Stoic resilience has taught me to value the process of overcoming. Each challenge I face is an opportunity for self-improvement. I feel like I'm constantly on a journey of self-discovery, where each difficulty molds and strengthens me. This reminds me that life is not about avoiding difficulties, but about how we face and overcome them. This mindset has been a source of motivation in my life. Finally, Stoic resilience is also about keeping an eye on the future. Instead of getting stuck on what went wrong in the past, I focus on the possibilities that lie ahead. This optimistic outlook is not just a form of comfort, but a life strategy. And so, when a new challenge arises, I am already prepared to face it with determination and courage, knowing that, regardless of the outcome, there will always be a lesson to be learned. Honesty as a virtue. Honesty is a virtue that I have always sought to cultivate in my relationships. To me, being honest is not just about telling the truth, but also being transparent about my intentions and feelings. I have noticed that this attitude creates an environment of trust, where people feel comfortable being authentic as well. In a world where superficiality can reign, honesty stands out as a beacon that illuminates interactions. I remember a situation where I needed to give sincere feedback to a colleague. At first, the idea of being brutally honest made me anxious. The fear of hurting him was real, but I knew that if I approached it constructively, I could help him grow. By sharing my perspective clearly and respectfully, it not only strengthened our relationship, but also promoted an open dialogue where both of us could learn and evolve. Being honest has also brought me a sense of freedom. When we set aside the need to please others or hide what we truly think, we can live more authentically. This authenticity, in turn, attracts people who share the same values, creating deeper and more meaningful connections. I believe that by being true, I am also inviting others to be true, which results in more genuine relationships. Another facet of honesty is the responsibility it brings. When I am transparent about my mistakes and failures, I am not only taking responsibility for my actions, but also sending a clear message that we are all human and capable of making mistakes. This vulnerability creates a safe space for others to feel comfortable sharing their own imperfections and learnings, further strengthening the bond between us. Finally, honesty as a virtue is a practice that goes beyond interpersonal relationships. It reflects how I see myself and how I relate to myself. By being honest about my emotions, desires, and limitations, I can have a clearer understanding of who I am. This self-awareness allows me to make decisions that are more aligned with my values and goals, ensuring that my life is not only authentic but also meaningful. Have you ever stopped to think about the power you have in your hands? Each of these 9 attitudes we discussed here is not just a strategy, it's a true paradigm shift. By applying these principles of Stoicism, you not only transform how others see you, but more importantly, how you see yourself. The key is to remember that your inner peace is unshakable and that valuing yourself starts from within. Now, I want you to reflect. Which of these attitudes did you feel most connected to? Silence, resilience, gratitude. How can you start implementing them in your life today? Think about the situations where you felt undervalued and imagine yourself reacting differently with more control and self-confidence. Remember, every transformation begins with a small step. So, how about starting now? Leave in the comments how you plan to apply these teachings. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any content that could change your life. Together, let's continue on this journey of self-discovery and empowerment. Until next time.